I will say I won't always do quiz previews this way. Sometimes I'll make them look very much like the quiz. The quiz will not be this long. Yeah, it's not going to be front and back 2 pages. I mean, I'd imagine 12 to 15 problems-ish when we get there. But this just gives us an opportunity to kind of do a nice blend of the stuff that we've been doing. And it may not be as necessary on this first quiz, but I'm going to do this for like quizzes moving ahead to kind of remind you with some things. As you start to look at these, it might be a good idea. So like this whole first page is like equation solving, and that's basically everything that we were doing on page 3 and 4 of the notes. That way, at least when we're doing this, and I'll give you the info on this one, you know where to look if you're getting stuck to see if there's something similar, even though I'm going to do a couple with us as we go, because there's some things that I'm not going to say scare me, but they scare me, as far as us getting situated with some stuff. So the couple that I want to look at, I'm just looking here, are going to be 3 and 5 because... yeah, there's some parts of this that could become a little troublesome. So, like what? For instance, it's very tempting to do -7 minus 6, put -13, and then distribute it. But that's not how this works, because order of operations tells us that if there's anything outside of parentheses, that needs to be taken care of first. Is it 6 or -6? It's -6. Well, if I'm doing that here, what do I do with the -7? We leave that alone. And we're going to multiply through with the rest of this. Signs are as important as the number is. So if you're going to use the calculator when you're multiplying, make sure you're taking -6 times each value. And I get to here. So I'm like, okay, so there's my p's. Oh, wait a minute. Let's look on this side of the equals. I have like terms on the same side. No opposites here. I did notice as I've been walking around for a couple of days when some of you have been doing equations, some of you at this point, and it's fine, have been doing like, well, I'm going to -48, and I'm going to +7 to the other side instead of going. So, you could... that's not normally the way I go, though. I'm going to add these up. So I'm going to go ahead and add those two together, -7 plus 48, get my value. And so now we just go into doing our opposites, and we can get to the answer. And I have posted the answers to this on Classroom as well. So if you're working on your own, if you go to the answers portion, and here I just want to be cautious that I don't add 42. Because this isn't p minus 42, it's -42 times p. So it can be tedious. I'm not going to tell you it's not, because that would be a lie. And get to my answer. So little things like that with order of operations and stuff from our first page as well. The other one I want to play with, like I said on this page, is messing with, ooh, but I see 2 of them over there. So let's do that. Yeah, I'm gonna pull a change up on you. I'm going to number 4. It also leaves us nice and even on the page here. Okay, I know we talked about multiplying all these together. Couple of things I'm going to mention here. Number 1, if you have parentheses right off the bat with a fraction, we want to deal with that first before we multiply through, or this gets to be messy. Or would it? Let's try something. Okay, so when we multiply through here, if you see a number show up more than once, you don't have to use the number that shows up more than once. So here when I multiply numbers together, I'm going to do 8 times 2 times 4. I'm going to take each one once, which is 64. Whoops, get on the screen, Hardy, which is 64. That's the number I'm going to multiply through here by. I'm going to use that 4 to my advantage. And you're like, what the heck? We got some distributing to do here, but this is where the calculator comes in handy. I'm going to do 64 times each of these fractions. And again, with fractions, we need to use parentheses. If I put it in, the fraction goes away. 64 times negative 1/2. Got to take the signs, though. And just like that, all these fractions are saying, see you later. Negative 3/2. 64 times negative 7. And again, we're just using the division button. We don't, whoops, I got it in my parentheses, though. Negative 7 divided by 4. Can't put the variables in here. That's all right. One more. 64 times negative 15 divided by 4. Now, this is going to look crazy in a minute. Okay. We went ahead. We got this situated. Okay. The fractions are gone. But now we've got to look, and I'm just looking at one thing for a minute. We're going to test this out. Hardy may have to eat crow here in a minute, but we're going to see. We're going to find out. Do I have... I do. Oh, and I got to go back to do that anyway. All right, let's keep going with this. I want to see if I got myself into trouble here. All right, negative 96, more distributing, holy moly, times negative 112. This number's going to be huge. Oh, I think, well, we're going to see. I think I done did a boo-boo, but we're going to find out. Negative 96 times negative 240. This is how we learn things, though, as we go. I know what my answer is. Let's keep going. All right. Let's get all our x's together. What's that? Whoop, thank you. Yes, it is. I'm getting scared that I am not going to get the answer that I am looking for. We're about to find out. Yeah, I'm not feeling real good about this at all. Let's see. I will not put numbers this large on your actual quiz. Just I will put that out there in video form right now. Holy moly. I didn't think this one was going to get this bad this fast. Oofda. I'm not going to get the answer I was looking for. Oh, I tried, as some of you many will at times, to take a shortcut to make this one go faster. And it did not work out. Okay. So let me show you something here. Okay. You're like, Hardy, I'm just skipping those. We're not going to deal with that. Let me show you where the dilemma came in. So what I attempted to do, and you do not have to write this part down. I'll have it available for you in places if you want to see it to do it. I thought at the time we could save time by distributing through by that LCD value right away. And the problem that I ended up finding now is by doing that, I believe I made these two numbers too big. So here's what you're about to see for those of you that have jotted some stuff down. And again, don't worry about changing yours yet. I just want you to see as we go. And again, I'm hearing, and sometimes if it has to do with this, that's fine. I'm hearing way too many, especially two, voices out there with things. I'm done being polite. This needs to stop. Thank you. Okay. Let's say, and I'm going to do this so you can just see quickly, and we'll have it on video too. Don't worry, I'm not making you deal right back through that whole problem again. But what you could do is just distribute here first. And in retrospect, that is probably what I should have done. Because now I can just multiply by these two numbers. And I have a feeling that when I do it that way, oh, I'm feeling a lot better about this already. Yep, that's going to get me the right answer. Okay, lesson learned. I'll help you through another one now that I've putting this out there for the world to see. Heard he got burned trying to do it. And look at this is actually quicker and the numbers are smaller. Okay, lesson learned. You're like, wait, we were going to go through all that before for 0? Yeah. Yeah. See, sometimes it goes to show that trying to take a shortcut ends up taking you longer in the long time being. So whenever we see a fraction outside of a set of parentheses, you do want to distribute first. So we just did, when I did the redo, just this little portion here on the right. Then I multiplied by the LCD, which actually ended up being smaller. So let's do a positive one of these, because that wasn't positive. I got to help out more here. Do you want to do 5 or 6? 5. Bigger one. Probably a good idea. All right. So my first job, we're just going to distribute here. And again, when you distribute, just make sure we're using parentheses. You're still going to have fractions. So we multiplied the negative 1/7 and negative 7/3. We got the 1/3. Then we got negative 1/7 and positive 7 divided by 5. So that ends up being minus 1/5. So I did nothing to the left side, just the right. Got rid of the parentheses by distributing, which just means I'm multiplying like we did right here in the calculator. When you go to multiply through by a number, any number that repeats, you don't have to keep using. So like here, I see 3 and 5 repeat. I don't have to use those two. I just got to multiply 5 and 3 together. Now we get to do the part that's going to make this nice and easy, and would have been easy the first time if Hardy had done it that way. So, 15 times 4/5. If we did this right, all the fractions should go bye-bye. 15 times negative 1/3 minus 5x. 15 times positive 1/3. We kind of know what that's going to be. Positive 5. And 15 times negative 1/5 is negative 3. That is a whole lot better than that was. And not that rough to fix. So, from here, it's up to you how you want to go. Do you want your x's positive? Do you want them on the left side? It doesn't matter. Since they're on the opposite side of the equals, Get those all to one side, whichever side. And now we're just taking our time. Oh, too big a right and Hardy, too big. Divide by 10. Let's get to the simplest fraction we can. Math, enter, enter. I mean, there's still some steps involved, but most of the steps are just me punching in the fractions in the calculator. It won't be real bad. And like I said, I wouldn't get this nasty on the quiz anyway. Like, I might start you like this step, and then let you still figure out a way to get rid of the fractions and go, but all the fractions on fractions on fractions is not necessary at all. So, and I think I actually went backwards. I think this review started on 8. So actually, I'm going to flip back a page here. Yep, I got ahead of myself. So that's why I'd started on page 3. This stuff is all notes on pages 1 and 2. Order of operations. We got those. We can even try putting them in the calculator. I still want to talk about one of those here in a minute. I'm going to put a dot by 4. Evaluating expressions, we've got those too. That's just straight substituting things. I want to chat on one of these. I'll always try to chat on the ones where there could be an issue on some stuff if we're not kind of watching things real well. So here, the only danger is that big fraction bar right there. We need to do, if there's ever a big fraction bar, you need to do the stuff above it and underneath it separate and then go to get the answer. So like here, we've got -9 plus 3. So that's -6. And -2 times 3 is -6. So negative divided by negative is going to be positive. So the positive one is in here. That minus that was at the beginning of the problem is still there. And then I can just type this part in. Most of the time, this one, once I did the absolute value, this one, you could type that directly into the calculator as it is and get the answer. It's just these bars that cause problems. Those are the ones that I got to do my pieces separately or my answer is going to be a little off. And the thing I also see get most often missed on this first quiz, when you substitute, it's a good idea to use parentheses, especially if you're multiplying. So y is 5. X is -3 squared on the outside. This one I could put directly into my calculator at this point if I type it right. So that's minus. That's the big one here. But when I get in here, that's the negative. That's the little one. Otherwise, you're going to get error messages. Crazy that it works that way. But, hey, it is what it is. So my big thing there is to use parentheses. Let's see. Simplify, combine like terms, I think will be okay there. Let's see here. So simplifying expressions, again, if you're looking for help, that would be on page 2 of the notes. Let's see, what else have we got here? Oh, absolute value equations. All right. That's notes page 4. I do want to do one of these too, though. Let's play with 15 here. So reminder on these, you're always going to get 2 answers. You'd see that if you were on the notes on that page. before we get two answers, we got to make sure that our absolute value is alone. Okay, always make sure the absolute value is alone, because once it is, we're going to break this up into two pieces. First one, I'm just recopying the equation. I'm just not going to have the absolute value bars anymore. Second one, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change the sign of the answer. I'm going to change it to negative. Once I have that set up, it's regular Algebra 1 stuff. We're going to go ahead and solve what we got. We're going to solve what we got. And I got my two answers, and I'm a happy camper. Now, sometimes, as we said before, could I get an answer that doesn't quite work? Maybe. Maybe if I'm not feeling safe, I can plug my answers back into the original problem. 6 minus 2 is 4. The absolute value of 4 is 4, plus 1 is 5. That worked. Negative 2 minus 2, be careful, is negative 4, not 0. But the absolute value of negative 4 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So those both worked. So I'm going okay on that one. We chatted over here on page 3 and 4 of our notes with the equations and our crazy, big, huge, long, way over, we did problem over here. And so I get to the end, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's still stuff left. What the heck? So I'm looking, and I'm like, all right, so we got proportions in solving. I'm going to go back, I think, here in my notes. Let me go backwards here. There they are. Proportions are on 3A on the notes. Yes. Again, we're just cross-multiplying, but we're also reminded, because Hardy's doing it right now, if you see plus or minus and Hardy doesn't put parentheses, ooh, I didn't hear, I might not on the quiz, I don't know. That you need to remember too, because if you don't, your answer can get messed up. So there, again, other than that, we'll set this one up, but I'm not going to go crazy here in getting too far because I've already been gibbering longer than I should today. And then literal equations, those are on 3A as well. And again, these are tricky just because we're not used to seeing a variable in a weird place. You're like, wait, I'm trying to solve for A. A's in the denominator. What the heck? Well, right now, we're dividing by 4A. That's what the denominator is. What's the opposite of dividing something? Multiply. So it's going to seem weird, but we're going to multiply both sides by 4A. You're like, wait, you just got rid of the A. I did not. We just moved it. Multiply those together. The A is still alive. It's still there. And so now, I'm just going to divide by what I need to get my A by itself. A is alone. I know we're used to getting a number, but sometimes you're not going to get a number. You're going to get something with a variable instead. As long as I've got the variable alone I need alone, I'm good. And that's the thing with the literal equations that gets a little crazier. So again, even if it's just on the 2 pages here, just play with the odds, or just play with the evens. You do have answers online, and I do have answers up front too if you wanted to check as you go along.